Hi, how are you? I'm Anthony from Cypher Escape, and this week I want to talk about the recently completed MIT Mystery Hunt. If you haven't heard of the MIT Mystery Hunt, it's probably the biggest and most well-known puzzle hunt of the entire year. Every year, dozens and dozens of teams, some of which have upwards of 100 participants, gather together to try to complete this absolute monster of a puzzle hunt. The MIT Mystery Hunt, at least in recent years, has had between 150 to 200 individual puzzles in it. And even that number, I don't think, does justice to exactly how crazy of a hunt this is. And what's more, the hunt takes place over just one long weekend in January, which is why teams need such a large number of solvers and participants in order to just make it through the entire hunt in such a short amount of time. The Mystery Hunt is something that puzzle hunters look forward to all year long, so what I want to do in this two-part video series is to try to highlight what it is that makes the Mystery Hunt so beloved by so many puzzle fans, what makes it so interesting, so monstrous, some of the interesting quirks about this year's Mystery Hunt in particular, and lastly to express some of the feelings that I had about the hunt this year and what made it so memorable and interesting for me. On Friday, January 15th of 2021, around noon, teams were given a link to this YouTube video, and I'll link to this down in the description below if you want to check it out yourself. This video was of a live Zoom call that broadcast the kickoff for the entire Mystery Hunt. The story of the Mystery Hunt was that all of the participants in the hunt were attending a science convention where some of the brightest and smartest minds were going to be presenting some of the newest and most interesting scientific discoveries. However, things take a bit of a turn for the worse when several of the students realized that Professor Barbara Yu, one of the brightest scientific minds of our time, has not shown up to the conference yet. Her presence was expected, and it's very strange that she's not currently here. The students do their best to present their work and the work of Dr. Yu in her absence, but the entire conference takes another turn when the students pick up an unexpected signal from Dr. Yu herself. The signal's a little bit spotty, but the doctor tells us that she had a major breakthrough the night before the event, and is now in the Perpendicular Institute. The doctor tells us that the Perpendicular Institute is actually a parallel universe that she is now trapped in and needs our help to get out. At the end of the kickoff, teams were provided access to U Labs, and we received a screen that looked a little bit like this. I want to talk a little bit about this intro round, including some of the puzzles that made it up. And then I'm going to jump into the main round of puzzles, which happened after this introduction round, and that's really where this puzzle hunt starts to get particularly interesting. From here out, this video will contain spoilers for the MIT Mystery Hunt of 2021, so if you don't want to see spoilers, you should probably navigate away from this video before going any further. The puzzle that I have up on the screen is from the intro round of puzzles, and it's called Back to School, and all that it is these lists of dots with various emojis inside of the dots. At the bottom of the page, there's this downwards arrow emoji and a number of question marks. The number of question marks is equal to the number of boxes that are above the arrow, so we can deduce that maybe we're supposed to extract one thing from each box and then put them in these question mark spaces down below. And that's really it. There's no flavor text, there's nothing else to help us out on getting started with this puzzle. It's all about interpreting what these boxes are. Now, one could probably deduce that these boxes all contain lists of some kind, and that these dots are most likely enumerations for the various entries in these lists. So the biggest challenge of the puzzle is figuring out what these are lists of and why the specific emojis were chosen. For my team, the big break-in moment came when one of our teammates looked at this particular line of this particular box and was thinking about dragons, because the dragon emoji is used here. They realized that the book, How to Train Your Dragon, would actually fit perfectly in the enumeration given by the dots, and the dragon is actually on the letter A in both cases that it shows up in the title. A little bit further digging, and we realized that all of the entries in this first box are titles from the How to Train Your Dragon series. In every single instance of the letter A was represented by the dragon emoji rather than a dot. However, there was something interesting about this entry which corresponds to the book How to Betray a Dragon's Hero. What you might notice is there's actually an additional dragon emoji here over where the letter Y in the word betray should go. So we took note of that interesting little detail. This pattern continues as each list on the page turns out to be a series of books. Other book series included in this puzzle are the Artemis Fowl series, Little House on the Prairie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and Captain Underpants. Just like how the dragon always replaced the letter A in the first set of books, the green dot always replaces the letter B in this set, the chicken always replaces the letter C, and so on down through the alphabet all the way to letter H. And in each case, there's an additional emoji that replaces one letter besides the alphabetized one that you would expect to be replaced. This is the solution page to the puzzle where you can see that additional letter that was blocked by an emoji in every set, as well as the book that carried that particular letter. The final step of the puzzle was to realize that everything on the entire page was alphabetized, even the title. The title wasn't Back to School, the title was Back School 2. All of the book series were ordered alphabetically by the titles of their books, and these letters A through H were all replaced in alphabetical order. So we sort the book title with that additional emoji alphabetically, and we take a look at the order that the additional letters are now in, and we get the final answer is playsets. This was a very fun puzzle to solve, and I'm showing it to you because I want to convey the fact that while MIT Mystery Hunt puzzles are notoriously challenging, the puzzles are typically still approachable and follow the same kind of logic that any puzzle hunt puzzle does. The next puzzle hunt from the intro round that I want to talk about turned out to be one of my favorite puzzles of the entire hunt. It's called Hey, Can You Give Me a Hand with This Puzzle? And if you think that I've done a lot of work to convert the puzzle into a Google Sheet, you'd actually be mistaken, because this Google Sheet was provided as part of the puzzle itself. The puzzle is built off of the fact that many puzzle hunt teams use Google Sheets to collaborate with one another on these more complicated puzzle hunts. And the whole sheet is even set up in a way to how one of these big teams would set up their puzzle-solving sheets, with most of the primarily important information given in columns off at the beginning of the sheet, and then some additional columns and formatting off on the right to kind of give some ideas that people have already had on the puzzle. There's also multiple tabs across the bottom of the puzzle where we can get to different pieces and different sources of information, and you'll probably notice that there's always this highlighted column of cells in every tab. When we finally get to the last page of the puzzle, it's a little bit different than all of the previous ones. Rather than sticking to a single color theme, it uses all of the previous colors. So we can guess that whatever it is we're doing in all of those other tabs, we bring over here in order to solve the final puzzle. So I'm going to go over a couple of examples here of what they were looking for in this puzzle. In the first tab, we are presented with a number of clues, some answers to those clues, and a number, and then there's a note in a cell that says, we're pretty sure that you're just meant to index into the answer using the number, however, it's too challenging to do it by hand, so they're asking us to set up a formula that'll do it for us. This is the sheet that my team was working off of in order to solve this puzzle, and you'll see that we entered a formula in here that would extract the corresponding letter from the answer given the number. And that reads off the phrase crossword chaos, and it looks like that kind of would repeat down the list. Crossword Chaos is the name of this tab, so we can be fairly sure that we've accomplished what we were meant to do in this tab. It's probably not very clear right away how this contributes to solving the final puzzle. As we go through the various tabs, we see that every tab is kind of the same. They give us some data, and then a colored column where we need to extract the final answer from the information that's given in that tab. In this particular tab, we were just given a row and column, and we needed to come up with a formula to enter into the sheet that would extract the correct value from this large table. All of this culminates in the final tab of the puzzle, where you'll see that the colors represented by these different squares match the colors that were given to the various tabs and equations that we entered in earlier. So for example, the equation that we put here in this green column, we can bring over and put into this green box in order to get some more values for this final sheet. This is from my team's worksheet again. We put the numerous equations into the indicated boxes on this final tab. The equations were then set up to extract data from a set of characters that were off to the left or the right of this grid, and then there was conditional formatting in this final grid that colored the cells certain colors depending on what the formula would then put into that cell. It probably sounds a lot more complicated than it actually ended up being. If you have any experience entering equations into Excel sheets or Google Sheets, then you probably actually would do just fine at this puzzle. We didn't get every equation correctly entered to obtain the final image, but this is as far as we got, and see if you can gain any idea of what this image is supposed to be before I tell you here. I'll just give it a quick scroll up and down to give you the opportunity to determine what this could be an image of. I will tell you these red boxes at the bottom of the image are meant to be blanks for where the final answer gets written in. So there's going to be 4 blanks, one here, one that's in this section we didn't complete, and then 2 at the end for a 4-letter final answer. This is the final image from the solution page to the puzzle, and hopefully it's clear to you, as it was to us, that this is an image of James Bond. And thus the 4-letter final answer that gets entered for this puzzle is Bond. I thought that this puzzle was super creative, super clever. The way that they set this up and even put some witty banter back and forth between the various teammates talking about how they were trying to solve each puzzle in each tab of this sheet is very humorous to me. As somebody who uses Google Sheets a lot with my team, this really rang true to how working in Google Sheets can sometimes be, and I thought it was really cool to learn a little bit more about entering formulas into the sheet and to work towards extracting the final image at the end of the puzzle. It was a very satisfying moment for me. The meta puzzle for this round was very simple. It was simply titled Enter the Perpendicular Universe, and the text, what needs to be settled before entering the perpendicular MIT, which is, you can see it's MIT upside down. And that's all that we got. It was the answers to our previous puzzles, the title, which was Enter the Perpendicular Universe, and this prompt, what needs to be settled before entering Perp IW, is what they referred to as the Perpendicular Institute. However, we actually did have a little bit more than that. Teams were meant to realize that they hadn't really used this computer where all of the puzzles were displayed for any of the particular puzzles yet. In particular, this keyboard down at the bottom of the page has some interesting characters on it, and those would become crucial to solving this meta puzzle. The keyboard at the bottom of this computer can be directly mapped onto your personal keyboard for your computer. And so that's how we get letters to map to these various symbols that are on this keyboard. Since the prompt on the meta puzzle page involved rotating the letters for MIT upside down, we might wonder what would happen if we rotated some of these letters on the keyboard upside down. We can see that some characters, like this double-lined character that represents X, would remain unchanged by the upside down rotation. However, we also have the letters J and L here that, when rotated upside down, become this R and this T letters respectively. So we can ask ourselves, what would happen if we took our previous puzzle answers, converted them into these symbols that we see on the screen using the keyboard code, and then rotated those symbols upside down to get a new word? Doing this for each puzzle gives us a new set of letters, which almost is a new word, except it looks like an extra letter has been added. For example, rotating timer upside down using those symbols on the keyboard on the previous page gives us the letters J-A-W-I-L, and that is the word jail, but there's an extra W that's been added in. If we do this for all of the puzzles and sort them according to how this screen is laid out on the main puzzle page, and then read them backwards as if we were reading them upside down, we get the answer 2D or not 2D, which is the punny answer of what needs to be settled before entering the Perpendicular Institute. When teams successfully solved this meta puzzle at the end of the intro round, they gained access to the rest of the Perpendicular Institute. And that is when this puzzle hunt goes from a kind of standard online puzzle hunt to something truly remarkable. On the screen, we have a map of the Perpendicular Institute and the various places that one could go within the Institute, and this map is intended to be a parallel of MIT's actual campus map. Several of the locations are the same, like the Green Building, the Infinite Corridor. These are all locations that one can actually find on the MIT campus. However, the map wasn't fully unlocked for teams as it is on my screen right now when they were initially given access to the Perpendicular Institute. Instead, they had to explore the various locations of the Perpendicular Institute solve puzzles and unlock more locations as time went on. And that's where all of the lore and all of the stories surrounding this puzzle hunt kind of come together into one amazing and fantastic moment the teams were granted access to at this point in the hunt. See, typically, the MIT Mystery Hunt has a large on-campus presence. In a normal year, somewhere around 10 to 20% of the actual hunt takes place not online, but physically on MIT's campus. However, due to the pandemic, MIT's Mystery Hunt could not happen in any physical capacity on MIT's campus this year, and people were fairly concerned about what that implied for how the hunt was going to take place. How do you explore locations? How do you travel MIT's campus if you can't actually go there in person? And that brings us to the solution that this team came up with when they were designing the MIT Mystery Hunt this year. The solution is a projection device. So here I have an avatar as part of the projection device. I can move around within the Perpendicular Institute, which again is a map of actual MIT campus. I actually had my recording software turned on when I first entered the projection device during the actual hunt, so I'm going to play now a couple of clips of my initial reaction to discovering this world, and you can see all of the different people that were in here during the actual event. I do think that something was a little bit off with my recording software when I was recording that, so it'll probably be a little bit laggy, and I apologize for that. Okay, so my team just solved the first meta puzzle of the MIT Mystery Hunt, and we're in a virtual MIT. We can just walk around and talk to people. I talked to a duck and he showed me how to wave, so I can wave now. This is just so crazy. Apparently there's like puzzles scattered around this virtual world, and we need to find them by talking to people. So like I can talk to this person. I'm looking for a dance machine. I thought there was supposed to be one somewhere around here. My God, there are so many people here. There's more people to talk to. Okay, so this person has a puzzle, and I can open the puzzle, and now there's a puzzle to solve. This is such a cool idea. So I think in the green building we have to find a bunch of codes to put into the elevator that's going to take us to different floors and unlock more puzzles somehow. Okay, I just wanted to record my initial reaction to this because this is just such a crazy thing that I didn't expect to be in here. I'm going to go solve some more puzzles and maybe I'll record some more later. Bye! So you can see some of the interesting things that are set in this projection device, and that all leads back to how this entire hunt is structured. The various rounds of the puzzle hunt are structured as different locations that are in the Perpendicular Institute. Something's going wrong and you need to work to get the building back into its original form by solving a number of puzzles and then completing that round's meta puzzle. There were also students hidden all over campus, and this was probably the biggest round. There were tons of puzzles just in the student category alone. So that's as far as I wanted to go with part 1 of this video series. Stay tuned because on Friday I'm going to be releasing part 2, where I'm going to talk about some of my favorite puzzles from this main round of puzzles, and I'm going to give some information about a live multiplayer event that I was able to participate in during the actual hunt. What are your impressions of this year's mystery hunt? If you participated in it, I'd love to hear some of your most mind-blowing stories or most interesting moments in the comment section below. And if you haven't participated in the MIT Mystery Hunt, I'd love to hear some of your impressions on the hunt as a whole now that you have a bit more information about how it's structured. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and as always, happy escaping.